Absolutely. Here is a long-form YouTube for Inner Steel, built around powerful life lessons, with a short story inside every point. The opening is designed to grab attention immediately, and the language is written for a motivational/stoic audience. Writing. These lessons will change your life. Inner Steel, full YouTube script. Stop scrolling. Because the life you want may be waiting on the other side of one decision you keep avoiding. You don't need another year to become stronger. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need perfect circumstances. You need to learn a few truths that most people discover too late. And once you truly understand them, the way you see yourself, your problems, your relationships, your failures, and your future will never be the same. Some lessons will make you uncomfortable. Some will force you to admit that you've been giving too much attention to people who don't deserve it. Some will teach you that silence is stronger than explanation. And some will remind you that the person capable of changing your life has been looking back at you in the mirror every morning. This is Inner Steel. And if you are serious about becoming mentally stronger, calmer, wiser, and harder to break, subscribe to Inner Steel and stay with us. Because today, we're not talking about temporary motivation. We're talking about lessons that can change the way you live. Let's begin. 1. Stop waiting for someone to save you. One of the hardest lessons you will ever learn is this. Nobody is coming to rescue you. That doesn't mean nobody loves you. It doesn't mean you should reject help. It means you must stop making your future dependent on someone else's arrival. There is a difference between receiving help and waiting helplessly. You can appreciate people who support you while still understanding that your life is ultimately your responsibility. Many people spend years saying, "When I meet the right person, I'll be happy. When I get enough money, I'll start. When someone believes in me, I'll become confident. When my family supports me, I'll pursue my dream. When life becomes easier, I'll change." But life rarely becomes easier first. You become stronger first. And then the difficult circumstances become easier to handle. Imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel had a dream of starting his own small business. He had researched everything. He had written plans. He had ideas. But every year he said the same thing. "I'm just waiting for my friend to invest." His friend never invested. Another year passed. Then another. One morning, Daniel sat alone in his room and realized something painful. His friend hadn't stolen his dream. He had handed his dream to his friend. That realization changed him. Daniel stopped waiting. He started with what he had. The business was small. The first months were difficult. Some days he made almost nothing. But something powerful happened. For the first time, Daniel felt ownership over his life. He wasn't waiting anymore. He was moving. 3 years later, the business had grown. And when people asked him what changed, he didn't say, "I finally found someone to save me." He said, "I finally stopped waiting." That's the lesson. Your life begins changing when you stop asking, "Who will help me?" and start asking, "What can I do with what I have right now?" Maybe you don't have enough money. Start with your knowledge. Maybe you don't have support. Start with discipline. Maybe nobody believes in you. Believe in yourself long enough to produce evidence. Maybe you failed. Learn. Maybe you lost someone. Grieve, but continue. Maybe you were betrayed. Heal, but don't surrender your future to the person who hurt you. You don't control everything that happens to you. But you can control your response. That is where your power lives. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Stop waiting for applause. Build yourself quietly. Become the person you were waiting for. Because sometimes the person you've been waiting for is you. 2. Learn to walk away from what destroys your peace. Not everything deserves another chance. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every person deserves access to you. And not every relationship deserves to be saved. One of the greatest signs of maturity is knowing when to walk away. Walking away isn't always weakness. Sometimes it is the strongest thing you can do. There was a woman named Maria who spent years trying to prove herself to someone who constantly criticized her. If she worked hard, he said she wasn't doing enough. If she succeeded, he said she was lucky. If she made a mistake, he reminded her of it for weeks. Maria kept thinking, if I just become better, maybe he'll finally appreciate me. So she tried harder. She became more successful. She became more patient. She became more understanding. But nothing changed. One evening, after another painful argument, Maria sat quietly in her car. She didn't cry. She didn't call anyone. She simply asked herself, why am I trying to earn peace from someone who benefits from taking it away? That question changed everything. She walked away. Not because she hated him. Because she finally understood that loving someone doesn't require destroying yourself to keep them. Months later, Maria said something profound. I thought walking away would break me. Instead, staying was what was breaking me. Remember that. Sometimes you aren't tired because life is too difficult. You're tired because you're constantly fighting battles you were never supposed to keep fighting. You keep explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. You keep proving your worth to people committed to undervaluing you. You keep returning to places that repeatedly hurt you. You keep opening doors that should have remained closed. At some point, you must choose peace. This doesn't mean running away from every difficulty. There are problems you should confront. There are responsibilities you must carry. There are uncomfortable conversations you must have. But there is a difference between facing difficulty and repeatedly volunteering for destruction. Learn the difference. A tree doesn't argue with the storm. It bends. It survives. And when the storm passes, it remains standing. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to defend every accusation. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. Sometimes silence is your answer. Sometimes distance is your boundary. Sometimes walking away is your victory. Protect your peace. Because once you understand the value of peace, you will stop exchanging it for temporary attention. 3. Your habits are building your future while you sleep. Your future isn't created one giant decision at a time. It is created through small decisions repeated every day. Your habits are quietly voting for the person you are becoming. Every morning you make a choice. You can get up when you don't feel like it. Or you can stay in bed. You can exercise. Or you can make excuses. You can read. Or you can scroll. You can work on your dream. Or you can watch somebody else live theirs. One decision doesn't seem powerful. But repeat it for years and it becomes your life. Consider a man named James. James wanted to become healthier. He kept saying, I'll start Monday. Monday came. He delayed. Then another Monday. Then another. One day he looked at an old photograph of himself from 5 years earlier. He barely recognized the person looking back. Not because of one terrible decision. Because of thousands of tiny decisions. That realization frightened him. So he changed one thing. He started walking for 20 minutes every morning. That's it. He didn't transform overnight. He didn't suddenly become disciplined. But he kept walking. After several weeks, he started eating differently. Then he began sleeping better. Then he started exercising. Then he became more confident. Eventually, people noticed the transformation. But the transformation had actually started months earlier when nobody was watching. That's how life works. The results arrive later than the decisions that created them. Your current life contains evidence of your past habits. And your future life will contain evidence of your current habits. If you spend every day complaining, you are practicing helplessness. If you spend every day learning, you are practicing growth. If you constantly react emotionally, you are strengthening impulsiveness. If you pause before responding, you are strengthening self-control. If you constantly seek validation, you are strengthening dependence. If you learn to validate yourself, you are strengthening independence. You don't need to change everything tonight. Start with one habit. Wake up earlier. Read 10 pages. Exercise for 20 minutes. Put your phone away for an hour. Write down your goals. Control your temper. Keep one promise to yourself every day. Small victories create identity. And identity creates behavior. Eventually, you won't say, I am trying to become disciplined. You'll say, this is who I am. That is when transformation becomes powerful. 4. Stop taking everything personally. Someone doesn't reply. You assume they hate you. Someone criticizes you. You assume they want to destroy you. Someone succeeds. You assume they are trying to make you feel inferior. Someone walks away. You assume you're not good enough. But here's a powerful truth. Not everything is about you. People act from their own fears, insecurities, experiences, ambitions, wounds, and perspectives. Sometimes someone's bad mood has nothing to do with you. Sometimes their criticism reveals more about them than it does about you. Sometimes rejection isn't a judgment of your worth. It's simply a different direction. There was a young man named David who applied for his dream job. He prepared for weeks. He studied the company. He practiced the interview. He walked into the building confident. 2 days later, he received an email. Rejected. David was devastated. He spent days thinking, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. They must have seen something wrong with me. Then months later, he discovered the company had chosen someone with 5 years more experience for a specialized position. Suddenly, the rejection looked different. It wasn't proof that David was worthless. It was information. That experience taught him something. He stopped asking, what is wrong with me? And started asking, what can I learn from this? That question gave him power. You cannot control people's opinions. You cannot control who chooses you. You cannot control who misunderstands you. You cannot control who leaves. But you can control the meaning you attach to those events. Someone rejects you? Learn. Someone insults you? Evaluate whether there is anything useful in the criticism. If there isn't, leave it behind. Someone misunderstands you? Explain once if necessary, then move forward. Someone doesn't appreciate you. Don't beg them to. Your worth cannot depend on another person's ability to recognize it. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with every insult you've ever received. Every rejection. Every betrayal. Every negative comment. Every embarrassing moment. How far could you walk? Not very far. Yet many people carry exactly that emotional backpack for decades. Put it down. You don't need to forget everything. You need to stop carrying everything. 5. Discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Motivation feels powerful. But motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you wake up inspired. Other mornings you don't want to move. If your success depends on feeling motivated, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline is different. Discipline says, I don't feel like doing it. I'm doing it anyway. A young athlete named Marcus wanted to become a professional runner. When he started training, he was excited. He bought new shoes. He watched motivational videos. He told everyone about his goal. For the first few weeks, he trained hard. Then the excitement disappeared. Rain came. His body became tired. His friends invited him out. He began skipping training. His coach noticed. One morning the coach asked, Why aren't you training like you used to? Marcus replied, I'm not motivated anymore. The coach smiled and said, Good. Marcus was confused. Good? The coach answered. Now you get to discover whether you actually want it. That sentence stayed with Marcus. He returned the next morning. He trained when he was tired. He trained when it rained. He trained when nobody was watching. Months later, he became faster. Not because he discovered unlimited motivation. Because he stopped requiring motivation. That's discipline. You don't need to feel confident before you act. Action can create confidence. You don't need to feel ready. Preparation can make you ready. You don't need to feel strong. Doing difficult things makes you stronger. The strongest people aren't always the most motivated. They're often simply the people who keep promises to themselves. When you say you'll wake up at 6, wake up at 6. When you say you'll exercise, exercise. When you say you'll finish the project, finish it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you break one without a legitimate reason, you weaken it. Your mind is watching. Your mind learns. When I say something, I follow through. That belief is incredibly powerful. 6. You must learn to be alone without feeling lonely. There is a difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone can be one of the greatest opportunities for personal growth. When the noise disappears, you finally hear yourself. Many people fear solitude because silence forces them to face thoughts they have been avoiding. So they stay busy. They scroll. They call someone. They chase relationships. They seek attention. Anything to avoid sitting quietly with themselves. But solitude can teach you who you really are. There was a man named Samuel who spent years surrounded by people. He always had somewhere to go. Someone to call. Something happening. Yet every night he felt strangely empty. One weekend, everyone became busy. His phone was quiet. His schedule was empty. At first, he hated it. Then he decided to take a long walk alone. No music. No phone. No conversation. Just him and his thoughts. During that walk, he realized something painful. He had spent years becoming whoever other people wanted him to be. He didn't know what he wanted anymore. So he started learning himself again. He discovered he loved writing. He loved early mornings. He loved reading. He wanted to build something of his own. He started spending more time alone. And ironically, when he became comfortable with himself, his relationships improved. Why? Because he no longer needed people to complete him. He wanted people. But he didn't need them to prove that he mattered. That's freedom. Learn to eat alone. Walk alone. Think alone. Work alone. Spend an evening without needing constant entertainment. Your solitude can become your training ground. Because when you can enjoy your own company, you become harder to manipulate. You stop accepting unhealthy relationships simply because you're afraid of being alone. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop begging for attention. You begin choosing relationships from strength instead of desperation. Be comfortable in your own presence. You are going to spend your entire life with yourself. Make sure you become someone you enjoy being around. 7. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. You will fail. You will make mistakes. You will choose badly sometimes. You will trust the wrong person. You will miss opportunities. You will lose money. You will experience rejection. You will have days when you disappoint yourself. But failure doesn't have to become your identity. A boy named Thomas wanted to become a writer. His first manuscript was rejected by publisher after publisher. One rejection became 5. 5 became 10. 10 became dozens. His friends told him, "Maybe you should give up." Thomas almost did. One night he placed all the rejection letters on his desk. Instead of seeing evidence that he was a failure, he saw evidence that he was still trying. So he continued. Eventually, one publisher said yes. The book became successful. People later called him talented. But they didn't see the nights he wanted to quit. They didn't see the rejection letters. They saw the result. This happens constantly. People admire the mountain but rarely study the years someone spent climbing it. Don't be ashamed of your failures. Study them. Ask, what did this teach me? What did I ignore? What can I do differently? What skill am I missing? What mistake must I never repeat? Failure becomes valuable when you learn from it. The worst failure isn't falling. It's falling and refusing to learn why. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are not required to remain the same person who made them. Your past is a teacher. Don't turn it into a prison. 8. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. There comes a point where explanation becomes self-abandonment. You explain. They twist your words. You clarify. They accuse you again. You explain more. They find another problem. Eventually, you're exhausted. Why? Because you're trying to win a game where the other person controls the rules. There was a man named Daniel who was accused unfairly at work. He spent hours defending himself. He sent messages. He explained every detail. He called colleagues. He tried to make everyone understand. But one coworker had already decided Daniel was guilty. No explanation was enough. Finally, Daniel stopped. He provided the necessary facts once. Then he returned to his work. Weeks later, his actions proved the truth. His reputation recovered. And Daniel learned a lesson. Sometimes the best explanation is consistent behavior. You don't have to respond to every accusation. You don't have to convince everyone. You don't have to make everyone like you. Your life is not a courtroom. Not every person deserves a defense. Sometimes your character will speak louder than your words ever could. Let people misunderstand you if they insist. Let them create their own stories. You know who you are. Keep improving. Keep your integrity. Keep your actions consistent. Eventually, reality has a way of becoming louder than rumors. 9. Your attention is one of your most valuable possessions. People talk about money. They talk about time. But very few people understand the value of attention. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If you spend 5 hours every day consuming negativity, your mind will become negative. If you constantly watch people arguing, you will begin believing conflict is normal. If you constantly compare yourself to others, your own achievements will never feel enough. If you focus on your goals, your skills, your health, your family, and your growth, your life begins moving in that direction. A young man named Alex had a dream of becoming a musician. He had talent. He had equipment. He had opportunities. But every evening he spent hours watching other musicians online. He compared himself constantly. He's better. She has more followers. They're more successful. Eventually, he stopped creating. One day his mentor asked, "How much time did you spend creating this week?" Alex said, 2 hours. "And how much time did you spend watching other people create?" Alex became quiet. 20 hours. His mentor replied, "You aren't losing because they are better. You're losing because you're studying their race instead of running yours." That changed Alex. He stopped obsessing over other people's progress. He started working. 1 year later, his skills had improved dramatically. Protect your attention. Not every notification deserves your eyes. Not every argument deserves your mind. Not every person deserves unlimited access to you. Attention is life. You only have a limited amount of it every day. Why? Spend it carefully. 10. Learn to control your emotions before they control your life. You will feel anger. You will feel jealousy. You will feel fear. You will feel disappointment. You will feel sadness. You will feel excitement. Being emotionally strong doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means learning how to feel without becoming controlled by what you feel. Imagine receiving an angry message. Your first instinct is to respond immediately. You type something harsh. You send it. 10 minutes later you regret it. But the message is already delivered. Words cannot always be taken back. A man named Michael learned this lesson the hard way. During an argument with his brother, he became furious. He said things he didn't mean. The argument ended. But the words remained. Years later, they both remembered them. Michael wished he had paused for 60 seconds. That's all. 60 seconds could have changed the entire conversation. This is why emotional control matters. When anger rises, pause. When fear rises, breathe. When jealousy appears, examine it. When someone provokes you, don't give them instant access to your nervous system. You don't have to respond at the speed of your emotions. You can create space between what happens and what you do. That space is power. Someone insults you. Pause. Someone rejects you. Pause. Someone tries to provoke you. Pause. Ask, What response will make me respect myself tomorrow? Not, what response will make me feel powerful for the next 10 seconds? That question can save relationships. It can save careers. It can save opportunities. It can save you from decisions you would regret. Control doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means becoming the person who decides what your emotions are allowed to do. 11. Never sacrifice your values just to be accepted. There will be moments when you must choose between fitting in and staying true to yourself. Those moments reveal your character. A young employee named David worked for a company where everyone manipulated numbers to make their performance look better. At first, David joined them. He didn't want to look difficult. He wanted to fit in. But eventually, he realized he was becoming someone he didn't respect. So he refused. Some coworkers laughed at him. Others called him naive. For a while, he felt isolated. But years later, when a leadership position opened, the company needed someone trustworthy. David received the opportunity. His character had been noticed. You may not always receive an immediate reward for doing the right thing. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you. It can cost friendships. It can cost opportunities. It can make you unpopular. But your values are your internal foundation. If you destroy that foundation for temporary acceptance, eventually you will lose respect for yourself. Don't become someone you don't recognize just because the crowd approves. Be kind. Be flexible. Listen to others. But know what you stand for. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need to be able to look in the mirror and respect the person looking back. 12. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's, chapter 20. Comparison can destroy gratitude. You look at someone's success and forget their struggle. You see their house but don't see their sacrifices. You see their confidence but don't see the years they spent building it. You see their victory but not their failures. A young woman named Grace constantly compared herself to her friends. One friend bought a house. Another got married. Another started a successful company. Grace felt behind. She thought her life was failing. Then she began keeping a journal. She wrote down everything she had survived over the previous 5 years. She had overcome failures. She had learned new skills. She had rebuilt relationships. She had become financially responsible. She had grown emotionally. Suddenly she realized. I wasn't behind. I was simply measuring myself using someone else's clock. Your journey has its own timing. Maybe you're 25. Maybe you're 40. Maybe you're 60. It is not too late to improve. The tree doesn't look at the tree beside it and complain that it is growing differently. It simply grows. Stop measuring your worth through someone else's achievements. Use other people's success as inspiration, not evidence that you are failing. Your competition is the person you were yesterday. Become a little wiser. A little stronger. A little calmer. A little more disciplined. That's enough. 13. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. Every yes costs something. When you say yes to something unnecessary, you are saying no to something else. No to your rest. No to your priorities. No to your family. No to your goals. No to yourself. Many people become exhausted because they are afraid of disappointing others. They say yes when they mean no. They accept responsibilities they don't have time for. They attend places they don't want to attend. They help people who never help them. They sacrifice their peace because they fear being called selfish. But boundaries are not selfish. A man named Peter was always available. Everyone knew they could call him. Need money? Call Peter. Need help? Call Peter. Need someone to solve a problem? Call Peter. Eventually, Peter became exhausted. He wasn't angry at everyone. He was angry at himself. He realized he had taught people that his time had no limits. So he began saying no. At first, people were surprised. Some became upset. But eventually they adjusted. And Peter discovered something important. People often respect boundaries after they realize you are serious about keeping them. You don't need to give a long explanation. No, I can't. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. These sentences are enough. Your time matters. Your energy matters. Your peace matters. Don't spend your entire life trying to avoid disappointing everyone while continuously disappointing yourself. 14. Don't let one bad day become a bad life. You will have terrible days. Some mornings will begin badly. You will make mistakes. You will lose your temper. You will procrastinate. You will fail. You will feel tired. You may even question whether you're making progress. That's normal. The danger begins when you turn one bad day into an identity. You say, I failed today, so I'm a failure. I missed one workout, so I'm undisciplined. I made one mistake, so I'm terrible. No. One event does not define your entire existence. Imagine a boxer preparing for a championship. He loses one match. Does he throw away his gloves forever? No. He studies the fight. He learns. He trains. He returns. You should treat your bad days the same way. Don't punish yourself forever because you stumbled once. Reset. Start again. Tomorrow morning is another opportunity. You don't need to feel ashamed for being human. You need to be committed to becoming better. Progress isn't perfection. Progress is returning. 15. The person you become matters more than the things you get. At the end of the day, success isn't just about what you possess. It's about who you become while pursuing it. You can gain money and lose your character. You can gain followers and lose your peace. You can gain status and lose your family. You can gain attention and lose yourself. So ask yourself, who am I becoming? Not just, what am I getting? A businessman named Robert spent 20 years building his company. He became wealthy. He bought beautiful houses. He traveled. People admired him. But one evening he sat alone at dinner and realized he barely knew his children anymore. He had achieved many goals. But he had neglected the people he wanted to share those achievements with. That moment changed his priorities. He still worked hard. But he learned balance. He understood that success without meaning can become another form of emptiness. Don't build a life that looks impressive from the outside but feels empty from within. Build character. Build relationships. Build health. Build wisdom. Build discipline. Build something meaningful. Because one day, your possessions will matter less than the person you became while acquiring them. 16. Stop chasing people who keep showing you they don't value you. There is dignity in walking away. You shouldn't have to beg someone to care. You shouldn't have to repeatedly demand basic respect. You shouldn't have to convince someone that your presence has value. If someone consistently chooses distance, accept their choice. This doesn't mean becoming bitter. It means becoming realistic. A man named Samuel kept chasing an old friend who had changed. Samuel sent messages. He invited him out. He tried to repair the relationship. But the effort was one-sided. Eventually, Samuel stopped. Months later, the friend returned. Samuel welcomed him, but he no longer chased him. The relationship became healthier because Samuel had learned to let people choose. You cannot force genuine connection. If someone wants to be there, allow them to be there. If someone wants to leave, let them leave. Your job isn't to hold everyone. Your job is to build a life that remains meaningful regardless of who stays. 17. Your words have power, so use them carefully. A strong person doesn't need to speak constantly. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Think before you speak. Ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Will it help? If not, perhaps silence is better. A woman named Linda once became angry during a meeting. She wanted to embarrass a colleague who had criticized her. She prepared a sharp response. But she paused. She said nothing. Later, she discovered that the colleague had misunderstood the situation. If Linda had spoken immediately, she would have created a conflict based on incomplete information. Her silence protected her. Words can build bridges. They can also burn them. Once spoken, They can live in someone's memory for years. Don't use your words carelessly. You don't need to win every conversation. Sometimes maintaining your dignity is more important than winning an argument. 18. Learn to delay gratification. One of the greatest forms of self-control is choosing what you want later over what you want now. The world constantly tells you, buy it now, eat it now, watch it now, spend it now, relax now. You deserve it now. But your future self is always paying the bill for your present decisions. A young man named Chris earned his first significant paycheck. He spent almost everything immediately. New clothes, new phone, entertainment, food. He felt successful. 2 weeks later, he was broke again. His friend asked, "How long did your success last?" Chris laughed. "Until the money ran out." That experience taught him to think differently. He began saving before spending, learning before buying, working before relaxing. He discovered that discipline creates options. If you control your desires today, tomorrow becomes easier. If your desires control you today, tomorrow becomes harder. Learn to wait. Not everything you want deserves immediate action. 19. Your environment is shaping you. You may think you are completely independent, but the people around you influence your standards. If everyone around you complains, complaining becomes normal. If everyone around you works hard, hard work becomes normal. If everyone around you wastes money, wasting money becomes normal. If everyone around you grows, growth becomes normal. A young man named Eric wanted to change his life. But every weekend his friends encouraged him to spend money, stay out late, and avoid responsibility. He loved his friends. But he realized that staying exactly where he was would make change difficult. So he began spending more time around people who were building businesses, studying, exercising, and improving themselves. His life gradually changed. Not because someone magically transformed him. His standards changed. Your environment matters. Choose people who remind you of who you want to become. You don't have to hate people who are going in a different direction. You simply don't have to follow them there. 20. Never give up on yourself. This is the final lesson. And perhaps the most important. People may doubt you. Life may disappoint you. You may fail. You may lose. You may feel exhausted. But don't abandon yourself. There was once a man who had lost almost everything. His business failed. His relationship ended. His confidence disappeared. He sat alone one evening and thought, "Maybe my best days are behind me." Then he looked at his hands. He realized something. He was still here. He could still learn. He could still work. He could still rebuild. So he started again. Not from where he wanted to be. From where he actually was. He took one step. Then another. Years later, his life was completely different. But the transformation didn't begin when everything became perfect. It began when he made one decision. I will not give up on myself. Remember that. You don't need to know exactly how everything will work out. You only need enough courage to take the next step. Your life can change. Your mindset can change. Your habits can change. Your relationships can change. Your future can change. But you must participate in that change. Nobody can do your inner work for you. Nobody can discipline your mind for you. Nobody can choose your response for you. Nobody can live your life for you. That responsibility may sound heavy. But it is also freedom. Because if you are responsible for your choices, then you have the power to change them. Final message. Now take a moment and think about everything you heard. Stop waiting for someone to save you. Protect your peace. Build powerful habits. Stop taking everything personally. Choose discipline over temporary motivation. Become comfortable being alone. Learn from failure. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Protect your attention. Control your emotions. Protect your values. Stop comparing your journey. Learn to say no. Don't let one bad day become your identity. Focus on who you're becoming. Stop chasing people who don't value you. Use your words carefully. Delay gratification. Choose your environment wisely. And above everything else, never give up on yourself. Your life doesn't change because you watched one motivational video. It changes when something you heard becomes something you practice. So don't just listen. Choose one lesson. 1. Take it into your life today. Maybe you need to walk away. Maybe you need to apologize. Maybe you need to start exercising. Maybe you need to stop chasing someone. Maybe you need to say no. Maybe you need to forgive yourself. Maybe you need to begin again. Whatever it is, don't wait until tomorrow. Start today. Because years from now, you will look back at this moment. And you will either say, "I wish I had changed," or, "That was the day I finally decided to become different." Make it the second one. You have more strength than you think. You have more potential than your current circumstances suggest. And your past does not have the authority to dictate your future. Build yourself. Control yourself. Respect yourself. Improve yourself. And when life becomes difficult, remember, steel is not created by avoiding pressure. Steel is created by surviving it. This is Inner Steel. If this message gave you something to think about, subscribe to Inner Steel for more powerful lessons on discipline, emotional strength, self-respect, wisdom, and becoming mentally unbreakable. And remember, stay calm. Stay disciplined. Stay focused. Keep building your inner steel. I'll see you in the next one. This is structured so you can comfortably turn it into a long-form narration, with each lesson carrying its own story and practical takeaway.